The Welfare Simulator is an online tool designed to analyze the impact of changes in food prices on household welfare. Featured by the Food Security Portal facilitated by IFPRI, this online tool will allow you to simulate changes in food prices and analyze welfare impact of such price changes on the population for different countries. We follow a microeconomic approach and estimate the compensating variation at the household level using data from nationally representative household surveys. We intend to answer the question of how much income should be transferred to a household to compensate it for changes in food prices. But let's explore this process. To enter the interactive tool, first go to Policy Analysis Tools and click on the medium-term welfare effects of higher food prices. You will find a quick explanation of the computations behind the simulations. To get started with the interactive tool, click on Medium-term welfare effects of higher food prices. Enter the user ID and password you are assigned. The online tool has 3 ways you can use to make your simulations. You can upload your own database by clicking in the Create Template link. You can enter the characteristics of a representative household and do the single household simulation. And you can use the simulator's existing data and simulate a country-level impact. To run a single household simulation, the first step is to decide if you want to compute a short or a long-term impact. The short-term impact will consider only the income effect of the compensating variation, while the long-term impact will also consider the substitution effect due to a change in the consumption pattern. Then enter the number of food groups that could be affected by a price change and the total expenditure. Then enter the names of the food groups. And specify the consumption and production shares, both as the percent of the total expenditure. Specify also if you want to simulate the same price changes for consumption and production, or if the simulation would consider different price for both, and enter the price changes you would like to simulate. To evaluate the substitution effect between one specific food group and other substitutes, you'll need to input the on and cross elasticities for demand or production. Or you can also consider 0 in any of those options. As a result, you will verify that after the price shocks in both commodities, the final expenditure of the hypothetical household will be reduced, since the shock made the household readjust its consumption and production pattern in comparison to the expenditure before the price shock. To simulate a price shock at the country level with the existing data, first select the country you would like to evaluate. Again, select if you would like to compute only the income effect, short-term impact, or the income and substitution effect, long-term impact. Then, consider the price changes you would like to simulate for each of the existing food groups. You can have one price shock for consumption and production, or different ones for both. If you have previously selected the long-term impact, you can use the elasticities that are preloaded in the database, or enter your own calculated elasticities or own assumptions for those values. The preloaded elasticities have been calculated by IFPRI using a theoretical approach named Quadratic Almost Ideal Demand System, QAIDS. As a result, you will obtain a complete report with the results disaggregated at different levels. In the first 3 tables, you can find descriptive statistics of the price changes considered, the consumption and production shares, and the elasticities calculated. You will also be able to compare the mean expenditure before and after the price shock for each quantile and area of residence. You can also take a look at the proportion of winners and losers by quantiles and area of residence. The concept of winner and loser is also determined by the compensated variation that the household needs to maintain the same level of welfare. If the household needs a positive compensation, it would be considered a loser. If the compensation needed is negative, in the case of net producers, for instance, it would be considered a winner. Another relevant output of the simulator are the three tables in which you can analyze the mean compensating variation in local currency as the percent of household expenditure and as the percent of national consumption expenditure disaggregated by quantile and area of residence. Finally, the last table will show you the poverty dynamics of the population after the shock. You will be able to compare different poverty conditions based in the expenditure before and after the price shocks for urban, rural, and national areas. Finally, you can also upload your own dataset and follow the same procedure to make the simulations in the country you are interested in. Go to Create Template link and enter the number of food groups you would like to consider. Enter the country name and download the template. After you input the information for each of the variables required, upload the template with the same name and format. Submit it, and you will be ready to compute the simulations in your dataset by clicking in the Simulations on Your Own Data link.